Welcome back. We're back again with Advocate Sipho Mantula to talk about the Ethiopian New Year and the genesis thereof. You were just saying earlier on, Advocate Mantula, how it came about. And please also just tell us the similarities, if any, with the Egyptian Coptic calendar.
Apologies to the viewers, but the point I was trying to drive home was that the Orthodox Church, not only Egyptian or what we can call, even if you look at the Russian Orthodox Church, it is almost similar when you think of Ethiopian New Year or when you think of Ethiopian Christmas, which is on the 7th of January. But today, talking about the 11th of September, little you can celebrate in that country with their own current even challenges. But like I was trying to drive another point home was that most of the Rastafarian communities globally commemorated this day. Most of the Ethiopian diaspora, whether in London, whether in USA, observe this day as an important day. Despite that we know 9/11 September that has gone into the minds of our citizens or of our viewers, we have missed this point of understanding the African calendar. Hence, we have this movement in Africa, in Tanzania, or even in South Africa, of talking of this month of September being the new season or Inzalo Yelanga. So there is a link between what is happening in the East and what is happening in the Southern Hemisphere. Hence, it is important to know that the African calendar goes along as well with our not belief system only, but our respect for our cultural values, for even our economic values, because calendar as well changes how people think, how people celebrate, and how people observe their Africanness. Hence, people from Addis Ababa across, even including South Africa, they revere this day as an important cultural holiday.
And if you could just also explain to us a little bit more the explanation of why it's 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar, the significance of that. And of course, there are also ceremonies that are performed when meals are served.
So you will recall that the African calendar, how it was interrupted and how Ethiopians look at both the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar, that it interrupted even the seasons in Africa, the days, the numbers, and even the naming of these days that we'll be naming, because September for them, it is the month of Nahas, where they are looking at the beginning of the new season, with the rainy season. You look at the Basotho culture, you look at the African culture, like I said earlier, but with Ethiopians, it's where we'll always say it's a cradle of human civilization. Beginning of your Lalibela church, your beginning of African, Pan-African Christianity that started in those years, but it was more based even on looking at the calendar, but the interruption of the Western calendar made people not to look into this, and hence we are having this dilemma that comes September 11. People get shocked when you are saying in Addis Ababa they are almost 7 years behind the calendar. Even their time zone, if you think of a local time, if you have been to Addis, you'll understand that they are not reading the time the way we do read the time. Like when you wake up in the morning, you cannot say it is 6 o'clock in the morning. It is the beginning of the day. They start to count from 1 until 12 when it goes to the sunset. So that's how we need to understand the mysteries or the sacredness of understanding this calendar. And like I have said, SABC has an ample of an archive and a footage of what we did 15 years ago when we were looking at the African millennium and we were saying, let's look at Ethiopia as the point of reference.
All right, perhaps let me bring up two other anniversaries. Reggae star Peter Tosh gunned down on this day in Kingston, Jamaica in 1987. Reflect back on that day, please.
You know, when you think of Peter Tosh, earlier when you were having the inset of Biko, I look at 45 years of Biko, but today we are looking at 35 years of this Jamaican rebel that Alice Walker used to say that this is one of the amazing rebels Peter Tosh with the Wailing Wailers, that his impact on the African continent was felt when he visited Eswatini in 1983. His last album as well, that was talking on the current challenges that are facing this global conflict on the nuclear war, the issues of poverty, the issues that he was raising through his music when he spoke about Mama Africa, his love for the African continent. And you cannot leave the point of being an advocate of Rastafarian cultural system of using the holy head. And that's how we can think, that's how Peter Tosh was seen as more radical than Bob Marley, but very close even to the Pan-African agenda. Hence, it is important that we know that being a heritage month in South Africa, Peter Tosh's impact was felt in many ways, that many liberation movements in Southern Africa were inspired by the lyrics of the Wailing Wailers when Peter Tosh was one of the trio members with Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer. And hence, I think it is important for us to understand the role of this reggae music in the liberation of the African continent, the liberation of the African diaspora. And Peter Herbert making Tosh, Stepping Razor, become that symbol and that character, embodiment that was able to face even the challenges of the world.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. Sipho Mantula is advocate. Sipho Mantula is Africa analyst, speaking to us about various anniversaries on our calendar. So we'll be talking about the anniversary of Steve Biko, which is tomorrow, and of course that is within various issues, also reflecting back on what's going on in the UK and how that's influenced the African narrative. All that and more coming up here on The Globe. Don't go.